Hello, good evening. Welcome to the second of our two December meetings of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission. It is 6:50 p.m. on December 19th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. The recording of these proceedings can be accessed at any time using the registration link at the top of this agenda. And get my screen back. For anybody who happens to be out there watching, I'll do our introductions, starting with Vice Chair Kelly.
Hi, I'm Robin Kelly. I am the Realtor representative on the commission and also a historic homeowner in Union Square.
Mr. Falvey.
Hi, I'm Ryan Falvey. I am a resident of Ward 2.
Mr. Shagnon.
I'm DJ Shagnon. I'm the landscape architect on the commission and a resident of Ward 5.
And I'm Eric Parks, resident of Ward 3, historic homeowner and architect. And staff, Wendy.
Hi, I'm Wendy Checkwich, a preservation planner with Planning, Preservation, and Zoning. And Mr. Chairman, through you, our applicant is here for our only item tonight.
Okay, yeah, we have one item and this is it, other than a little CPA update. So the first item on our, let me go back and get the agenda up here, is HP 23-000060. Address is 56 Bow Street. Applicant is Ashley Bloom. The owner is the same as the applicant. The applicant seeks a certificate of appropriateness to install an AC unit visible from a public right-of-way. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, Ashley Bloom, I'm going to be promoting you to a panelist. You may cut out for a second, but you'll come right back in.
Yeah, we see you, but don't hear you.
Oh.
Now I do.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, excellent. We also have our contractor here who I think is better positioned to help speak on our behalf. His name is Andrew. Is it possible to promote him to a panelist?
Yes, it is. Andrew, you're being promoted to a panelist. You will also cut out for 1 second, but then you'll be right back in. Andrew McAuliffe, you have been promoted to a panelist. If you'd like to speak, you just need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Is that better?
Yes. I mean, I hear you.
Okay.
So why don't you guys just give us a quick rundown? We've read the staff report. It seems pretty straightforward, but let us know what you're up to.
Yeah, the long and the short is we have an HVAC unit that we need a condenser for. The condenser can't be more than 50 feet away, which basically puts us in the front or side yard, which is visible from a public right of way. The condenser is actually quite small. It's a little less than 3 feet long, just a hair over 2 feet tall, and only a foot deep. So it's much smaller than a traditional condenser unit that you might see on an average house. And we'd like to either hide it behind some shrubs or put it off sort of just tucked away behind the front porch.
Okay. Anything else, folks? If you don't have anything else to add, we'll switch to public comment. You do have a chance to respond or whatever. Wanted to make sure you've said everything before we move on to that.
Sure. I mean, the only other thing I'd add is it really won't change the design and materials or outer appearance of the structure of the house. And it won't change the general arrangement of the buildings, its features, architectural details, anything like that. It's really a small hole drilled through the side of a house and a condenser unit placed outside, which theoretically is not permanent, could be removed if necessary at some point in the future. But we're really not changing the actual structure of the house in any real way. Just food for thought.
Okay. Um, okay, in that case, I'll open it up to members of the public who want to speak as a public comment portion of the hearing. If you'd like to say anything, raise your hand and staff will unmute you or bump you up or whatever the process is.
Ron Cavallo, you have been unmuted. You just need to unmute yourself to be able to speak.
Ron Cavallo, 70 Victoria Street, Somerville, long-term resident and significant property owner in the city of Somerville. I fully support the applicant and want to note that there appears to be a trend, and that's there's fewer and fewer applications every single week. That's indicative of the toxic environment that the city of Somerville has created. I think it's very damaging. I have a lot of issues with the way this commission treats the general public. I think this commission belongs before the State Ethics Board. That's my end of the year comment. What is important is that I support the applicant. I'm very unhappy with the way the city of Somerville treats applicants in general. And I see a decline in the city of Somerville, and I think it's inferior to every adjoining city. I think the services, the infrastructure, and the general climate is highly damaging, and it's having a negative impact on the taxpayers. I'm very upset with my tax bills. I'm very upset with my utility costs, and note that they're higher than all the adjacent communities. I think it's wrong. I want to publicly state that I'm extremely unhappy with this commission and the general climate that the city has created. It's anti-development, it's anti-home ownership, it's certainly anti-landlord. I don't like it. It's the end of my comment. That's the last comment of the year. These are not new things. I want to add one more thing, and that is that I think there's a responsibility of Robin Kelly, who's the representative of the real estate industry, and I think she's remiss and always taking the most stringent way of approaching all the applicants. And I believe that Robin has an obligation to go to the city council and talk about the impact of this commission on the city. It's the end of my comments for the year. I wish everyone season's greetings. I wish the applicant the best.
Thank you. Any other public comments who'd like to speak about this case?
Mr. Chairman, there are no other members of the public wishing to speak on this item. After you close the public comment, I would like to make a quick clarification.
Sure. We'll close the public comment portion of this hearing.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, through you, just for the members of the public who may be watching this video later, as a reminder that the Historic Preservation Commission does not regulate taxes or utility bills. And I would just as a side note, point out that every year the holidays are much slower for us, and it is just a lot less applications coming in for around the months of November through January. Thank you.
And also, we've doubled the rate at which we have our meetings, which leads to fewer cases per meeting. Yeah, I'll let the rest of that just go. Okay, so commission, who has thoughts on this?
I will share that given the options, I think placing it along the left side of the house, along the driveway, the 50 Bow Street driveway side, tucked behind 56's little front porch bump out, makes best sense rather than having it placed in the front of the building, just in the event that plants should die or something like that, and the condenser became more visible. I think it's better kind of tucked on that driveway side, which is a little bit less prominent and discreet.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing as Vice Chair Kelly, that I think, given the options and the availability, I think the applicant and their contractor have done a really nice job of picking the most discrete location feasible and frankly, the most discrete condenser feasible. That's impressively small. it does seem like there's the possibility, well, actually not knowing the product, I don't know if there is, but I would hope there's the possibility of potentially painting the cover on it to match the trim, or maybe, and given the height of it, maybe the brick foundation. It's a brick foundation along the driveway side? Am I right in thinking that? Yeah,
It is, yeah.
yeah, so it would seem maybe if we could get
So
it
I think,
sort of-
though, I think, yeah, I think requirements have it sort of up I don't know, 18 inches or something off the ground for snow and
Okay.
that kind of thing. So
Oh,
it's
so
probably still hidden behind the porch, but you know, half brick, half blue siding, something along those lines,
Oh, yeah, so,
but still quite discreet.
I mean, honestly, maybe at that point, white is the best color for it, and it blends in with the trim. I don't know. But I think that would then, you know, go a long way towards meeting the guidelines is, recommendation that it be, you know, set close to the surface, well, flush with the surface of the building is what the guidelines say, and obviously it can't be completely flush with, because we need air circulation on both sides of it, I assume. And painted, no, it says and painted the same color as the window trim, so that would make it white.
Actually works well.
Yeah, sounds. I don't know, to me, it feels like this is best possible solution for the obvious need.
I had a question about the lines running from it. Is this to provide heating and cooling for the basement, or will this be having lines pulled into other rooms on that would require some piping and such on the side of the house?
No, the internal piece is actually right inside that location. So
Yeah.
the pipes would go directly in through the house and into that
Right.
room. And
So
that's it.
nothing running up the side or any of that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree
Correct.
with Mr. Chagnon and Vice Chair Kelly as well. I think given all options, it seems as though that's the optimal location, and I definitely agree. I think finding the smaller condenser as you have the effort that you've put into it is great. So wish you the best with that. I definitely support that. Is there thought of screening it in any way? I'm just curious about that. Is that even an option? I know there was discussion or maybe some notes about fencing or natural or otherwise,
think
or hedging. Just curious.
If
what
we
your
were at
thoughts-
if we were at the front of the house, I think there could be screening. But
Yeah,
because it's so tight to the property line on the left,
Yeah.
we only have about a foot or 2 feet or whatever to work with. So
got
I
it.
don't think we could screen it much on the left there without impeding the other
Got
person's
it.
driveway.
It's right in the driveway. Yeah.
Where
That
does
was kind
the,
of my thought too about it, was it looks like it's right, it looks like the property line might be right at the edge of your porch. And that, I don't know how much room there is to screen outside of that if you're to build anything.
Yeah.
And you also answered my question about the 50 feet, because I was wondering where 50 feet from where, and it sounds like that's where.
Yeah, that front corner, essentially.
I think, I mean, that these are always kind of a squishy guideline here, but the things that make it, if you see it obliquely from the left, if you're walking up Bow, you're going to see it. You know, there's no bit of porch that's going to be hiding it. But what to me makes it a little bit more palatable there is that it's on a it's on a parking lot, basically. It's not like you're sticking it right in the middle of a grassy front lawn of a house or something. So to me, it's already part of the
Sure.
palette of what's going on that side. So I'm fine. And this has been brought out. This is a reversible change. All someone has to do is get rid of it 20 years from now and it will be gone forever. So I don't really have any recommendations other than painting it. The trim, I guess, is fine. Otherwise, it would be the background color of the house,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't do any kind of multicolor thing. So I think the trim is probably as good as anything. And it doesn't look like you have any room to actually construct a screen around it. And if you did, I bet you would need some kind of clearance that would push that further away than the edge of the unit to the point where actually a couple
Yeah, I
feet
think
into the
so.
neighbor's yard. So as much as I'd love to see something around it, I think the best you could do would be to plant something in front of it and have that be like, as DJ would, it's the old, is it better to put something that distracts the eye or that obscures, that hides something, and maybe could put something in front of it that sort of you notice before you notice the unit. Be the best you could do for planting. The planting's not within our purview, so I don't think.
Yes.
I do have a question because it's being placed on the driveway or right on the edge of that. Does one typically put or need to put or should put some kind of a pylon in front of it as a protective measure for cars that would potentially be moving in and around there? Is that common for placement in locations such as that? Is that a consideration at all? I'm just curious.
I don't believe any part of the building code requires that. And again,
Yeah.
I think because we're so tight to the property of the next door neighbor, that
Yeah.
any pylon would end up in their driveway essentially.
Got it. Okay.
Whereas we have basically just enough space to sort of legally get it in there, as
Got it.
far as zoning, that kind of thing goes.
Right.
It also is will be behind the sort of the edge of the porch. So I guess
Right.
one could argue that if one was going to drive into it with a car, they'd also drive right into the porch. So, which is a pretty large structure and hard to miss.
Thank you.
So it doesn't then, it won't project forward from the edge of or leftward from the edge of the porch, right? Or
No,
it
no.
looks like you've got just barely enough space to work with. It's almost going to be flush with the edge of the porch in terms of the line.
That's correct.
Okay.
I was muted. How much, out of curiosity, how much room are you required to put between this and a structure for clearance?
It actually can mount directly to the house.
Oh,
There's a bracket that mounts directly onto the house, so there really won't be any. There's maybe it's 1.5 inches or something, but it's very tight to the house itself.
Okay, so actually you will have it. Just looking at the picture anyway, a little bit of an offset maybe. I don't know what that projection is in the porch.
Yeah, the projection on the porch is. I don't have the measurements in front of me, but the projection of the porch is about 2 feet, and this sticks out about a foot from the house, plus maybe 1.5 inches gap, so 25, 26 inches, somewhere in that range. Or sorry, excuse me, 15, maybe 15 inches from the house, but the porch projects maybe 25 or so inches from the house. So it'll be well behind that.
Okay. Wendy, staff, were you going to say something? I feel like we cut you off.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you. To the comments on screening the unit, there's already a condition suggested in the staff report that the applicant work with staff on coming up with an appropriate screening after this meeting, should you choose to approve it.
I think that could only help. I mean, it might be, would that involve your coming out to the site, Ms. Chekowicz, and seeing, do we need to narrow that scope? Like, are you thinking of planting review or just seeing if there's any chance to put a screen or something in front of it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So it would allow staff and the applicant some wiggle room to come up with, see if there's an appropriate amount of space to put something there, what that might be. Because it isn't a lot of space to put something there. And we also don't want any screening to be more distracting than the unit itself. So that would just give us some wiggle room to find an appropriate form of screening.
Are you thinking something like the lattice that's already around the skirt of the front porch?
That was one thought that we had.
Okay.
I wonder about whether we should adjust the recommended condition to say that the applicant shall screen the condenser unit if feasible with final approval of the method and material by staff. Just because if there isn't a feasible screening solution, my impression, and I think I heard Chair Parks say, that if it's not screenable, then we'll do the best we can with paint, and that's good enough, but I wouldn't want to lock them in with a condition that says they shall screen it. And then have that turn out not to be feasible and have ISD throw a wrench in the works with that or something.
Mr. Chairman, through you, staff would be okay with that change as well.
That sounds fine to me. I mean, if there truly is an extra foot or two to spare on, if this is mounted straight to the house, you have some
Yeah,
overhang, it might be that once you're out there, there's an opportunity to put something. I don't think you need to go through heroics to screen it, but if there's an opportunity, we might as well seize that.
yeah.
So I'm good with that. How about you, applicants?
I'm absolutely fine trying to come up, working with the Historical Society to try to find a feasible solution there. But I am a little, the word shall is pretty important, or sorry, not using the word shall, because I really think it's if we put it in the front yard behind the bushes, I think we have ample opportunity to screen it. If we put it behind the porch on the left-hand side adjacent to the neighbor's driveway, I really don't think there's much we're going to have room to be able to do. But I'm happy to work with the Historical Society to do the best that we can to make it as discreet as possible.
Okay,
You need reasonable clearance on these units, I believe, as well, too, for breathing, right? So I think that you may be constrained with that. Right? I mean, so that.
Yeah, I don't have the actual clearances on right now, but typically you do need at least several inches, if not a foot, especially on
Yeah.
the front and sides of the unit.
Right,
So
Yeah.
right.
and there is an issue with occasional access to it. You wouldn't want to be hemmed in so that you could never service it. And I don't know how that, if it's where the works are only accessed from one side or what, but that would be another factor.
yeah, whatever screen would be put up would have to be removable so that you could service it if necessary. So it couldn't be a permanent kind of a thing. And to be honest, again, I'm happy to work with the Historical Society on this. But I think some kind of a screening there it might draw more attention than really is necessary to what is otherwise sort of a common piece of equipment that would be found in typical houses in the area.
Mhm. Yeah.
I agree with that.
I think my 2 cents on the question is I would much rather see it along the driveway side, not screened, than in front of the house, even with an attempt to screen it. I think it's going to stick out more no matter how much we can try to hide it in front. That's my 2 cents on that.
I would agree because a plant can die, can go away, it can become something that's deciduous or, and on the side where it is there, it won't be at all visible from the seen dead on or anywhere to the right of the house. It'll only be seen once you're off on the left. And at that point, you're seeing it over a driveway, basically, with pavement running right up to the foundation wall. So I think, I mean, I would agree with you, DJ. We should just, if we adopt that, we should add something that indicates that it's to the extent that's feasible, it'll be reviewed with staff. And understanding it may well not be anything that ends up getting constructed, but maybe it's just some situation or something like that, or location of something. Any thoughts from you, Vice Chair Kelly or Mr. Falvey?
Nothing
Okay.
additional to add. Thank you.
All right.
Nothing
Well,
additional on my end too, Chair Parks.
Then I guess we could take a motion.
I would move that we grant a certificate of appropriateness with the recommended conditions in the staff report with the modification to condition 4 to add the language of if feasible. The applicant shall screen the condenser, use it to the extent feasible, with final approval of the method and material screening by preservation staff.
I second that. Beat you to it.
Do we have a motion by Mr. Chagnon, seconded by, I think, Vice Chair Kelly? Or did?
Yep.
All right. Second and a half by Mr. Falvey. And we'll do a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do a roll call. Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes,
Mr. Chagnon,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So there you have it, folks. Want to make sure you get this thing up and running before January kicks in. It could get really
Yeah.
hot.
Thank
Very
you.
cool.
Thank
Thank you very much.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks
You're
all.
on.
Bye.
good luck.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Happy holidays.
Holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Before we move on to any further business, this was not related to Bow Street, but I did want to respond to Mr. Cavallo's commentary in the public comment portion of the 56 Bow Street case. He referenced my being the Realtor representative on the commission. And I wanted to clarify for the record that while I am the Realtor representative, that means that I am bringing my expertise from my professional life and education to help the commission understand the cases that we have before us. It is not that I represent the interests of the real estate community. I represent the interests of all residents of Somerville. And so I wanted to be very clear about that. I do not represent a subset of Somervillians. I represent all. It is my expertise that puts me in the role of the Realtor representative. So I wanted to make that very clear because I think that's really important. And I also wanted to correct the record regarding taxes. So understandably, for someone who owns a lot of investment property in Somerville, their tax bills are going to be higher than owner occupants. But that said, with reference to the contiguous communities, so Somerville and its 5 contiguous communities, Boston, Everett, Medford, Arlington, Cambridge, and Somerville itself, in terms of the fiscal year 23 tax rates, just the rates, Somerville is the 3rd lowest of those 6 communities. And for owner-occupied properties that have the residential exemption in place, Somerville is the 2nd lowest tax burdened city for owner occupants for properties all the way up to $2.5 million. So it's not until you get over an assessed value of 2.5 million that it drops to 3rd position. And so I wanted to just be very, very clear about that. We do have the largest residential exemption in the state. And so that has an impact on the tax bill that an investor owner would not be able to take advantage of. But of course, because of the proximity to the universities, to transportation, to shops and restaurants that are fostered here, the rents are much higher that investors can seek in the city of Somerville than any of the contiguous communities except for Cambridge, which is its own animal when it comes to taxes. But I just think it's really damaging to have bad information suggested. And so I wanted to clarify that for the record. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up, but I would just say, generally speaking, I have complete confidence in the expertise and the value that Vice Chair Kelly offers to this commission, and as the chair, I think to say otherwise is disingenuous.
I second that motion.
Yeah,
And 3rd and 4th.
and 2.5, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for bringing that up. I was aware of the tax issue. I know someone who has a comparable house to mine whose taxes are literally twice what we pay here in one of the further away burbs.
And in terms of utilities, you know, we're an MWRA community, all MWRA communities are affected similarly, so, and we all pay the same rates to Eversource or National Grid or whatever, so that's not anything that the city can necessarily impact.
Okay. All right, so that is everything on our, we don't have any minutes to review. And before the meeting began, we thought about, there is a CPA update, which I customarily do. We did have a meeting last week in which we reviewed the applications for CPA funding. And one of the big late breaking bits of information was that the tower at the town hall, the clock blew in and it's suffered some damage from they said a lightning strike or one of the storms we got this summer. I didn't quite buy it because that building's been getting ignored for about 30 years. And so it's sort of like demolition deferred maintenance, but that has sort of induced the city to begin the process. And that we were notified that they're going to be looking to put some work into at least fixing up the tower portion of it. Coming to this CPC for possible to pitch in some money towards a project funded by other sources as well that would address the situation with, at least with the tower. This is not a formal application yet, so we don't have anything to review, but we were just notified that there might be a big chunk of money that would be
By
requested.
the tower, you mean the cupola
The cupola, yeah.
on top of City Hall? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I misspoke. It's not a tower, but yeah. Obviously the whole building needs some work, but they're in the process of figuring out what that scope would be and how it might get paid for and all that. And they might be requesting something from the CPA. And it would be sort of it's a question of whether it'd be an off-cycle request. And suddenly we go from having just barely enough money to cover all the requests to not having enough. So we would have to decide whether to whittle other applications down, or it suddenly becomes a little more competitive for the portion of the funding that would go to historic preservation projects. Because right now, I think the ones that were being looked at are the money for a study for the Vita Rail Church on Broadway that near Sycamore, I think, is it? There wants some money to start a study for the building to see what it needs, kind of like phase one. The Somerville Museum is requesting some money to restore the front railing and also fix up some items in their collection, pictures, paintings, and furniture. And then there was some money for, I'm blanking on the last one. I forgot what that was. The other big ticket thing is a Lance open space request for the the park along 10 Hills, along the water there. So anyway, that's something that involves the staff mentioning that they're getting rained on this Monday. So with any luck, within a few years, you won't be getting wet anymore.
And hopefully there are repairs made as soon as possible so that there's not greater damage done, that $1 million project doesn't turn into 5 million because of neglect.
Yeah, and that building has really needed some work. And I mean, a personal level, I think it's just kind of a really bad look to have your civic center, your town hall look like that when you put so much work into other buildings around it. Obviously, and it's something we're all part of. It's our town, and so
It's
I would
bad
hope that-
enough now that I would say it's like we're bringing in the broken windows theory. You know, I mean, it's signaling really, really not good stuff about the city that I don't think anyone wants to be signaling. So
yeah,
the building needs to be cared for.
And it's a collective. I'm not pointing the fingers at anyone in particular, but this is something that's just been
Right.
brewing for decades. So it's our town hall and it's our responsibility.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the news on the CPA front. Any questions about all that? If not, I think we're pretty much run out of things to talk about tonight.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, through you, just so that everybody knows, we did not have any items for the first meeting in January. We did have to advertise both meetings in January at the same time because of the newspaper printing takes a break because of the holidays and because we have to print legal ads so far in advance. They both went out already. So we do have a meeting on the 16th. I'll say 16th. But there is no first meeting in January, just the second meeting. So you guys can enjoy your holidays and
Okay.
not have to worry about being here the day after New Year's.
All right,
Thank you.
Great.
reprieve gratefully accepted.
Yeah. Have a good end of year, holidays, etc. to everybody here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. You
Travel
too.
safe if you're
Bye.
traveling.
Thank you.
Well.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wait, we need to vote to
Oh.
adjourn, don't we?
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, last motion of the
Oh,
year.
jeez.
Can't just leave.
I
What
move
would
that
happen
we,
if we all just left?
I move that we vote to adjourn.
I second that. Well,
Okay, all in favor?
Let Ryan.
thank you, DJ.
We'll do a roll call on adjourning. Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So now we're officially leaving.
Okay.
Great.
As opposed to being in session for the next month.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting.
Thank you, Wendy,
Okay.
for all your help and such.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank you,
Kristen
everyone.
and everyone at HPC.
Kristen,
Thank
too,
you.
right?
yes.
Especially Kristen, because she saves so many of us from writing notes. Because
Yeah,
if not,
that's-
everyone,
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
Kristen, thank you so much.
Yes.
You do an amazing job.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
for
you.
having me and happy holidays.
You all do.
Thank
Great.
you, you too.
Take care.
Okay.
thank
Bye.
you.
Well,
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Al.